Peace. First and foremost, I'd definitely like to thank Anthony Griffin for letting me in the building to get the little interview and let you up on the happenings of heaven and hell, where it's been, where it's going, and the future of it. So thank you for having me, Ant.
You're welcome. Glad to have you here.
Definitely. So let's just jump right into it. Let's I just want to get the rumor out the way. Like I said, it was a rumor years ago that I heard that Heaven and Hell was bought out by Chinese for $1 million. Is that true?
No, I ain't get that check. No, I didn't. No, not me. We still have all the rights to Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell was copywritten and trademarked back, I want to say 1995, 1996. That was part of a licensing deal I was involved with some people that were from North Carolina, and basically that happened, and part of the deal was that my logo, which is the H logo with the fire and the flame, be trademarked, and so basically that was secured, and we ran that all the way through 2004. And then that's when that deal came to an end. I took back full ownership of the logo, and since then, just been kind of spending time with my family. My kids are grown now, so, and just going through life. I do a lot of retail. Obviously Barber Street, Main Street, Southland, and Hartford. So totaling it all up right now, we into our 31st year, and so it's been a long journey. And I thank God, and I couldn't have did it without God, and I give all the credit and the glory to God, because it seems like yesterday I just started.
Right.
And that's one thing why I wanted to kind of support you is up and coming. You just got to keep going, because here it is 31 years later, and I'm still in it. And
yes.
I ain't there.
There you go.
But I ain't looking to get there in that sense. I'm just looking to maintain and just maintain my livelihood every day, and try to do and please God. So
that's peace.
Everybody has their own level of happiness. This is my happiness. So
I'm glad.
We didn't sell the logo. We didn't sell it. Everything is ours.
I'm glad you said that, man, because one thing I wanted to ask you was, with the longevity of your brand, how was it in those first couple years, whereas you wasn't getting, or I'm not going to say you wasn't getting, but was there friction from friends, family? Was it a pushback?
No. I mean, because people stop speaking. Yeah, and people expect things for free, and all those that come with it. But this is a business. You got to recognize it as a business, and you can't treat it any other way. If you allow it to be treated any other way, that's the way it's going to go. But at the end of the day, you got to cover your costs. What's the sense of making a purchase and then giving it away? Yes, we encourage charity for those that qualify for it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a business. This is how I make a living. So, it gets in the way sometimes when you allow it to. But business shouldn't be that. If you support me, I'm gonna support you. And where we meet on that's where we come to a good price. So outside of that, you're gonna have your normal people that think they're entitled to what you have, that's just an unfortunate mentality.
So take me back. June 95, you started this company, Heaven and Hell. What was your inspiration?
I got out of prison. I did most of the 80s in prison. I got out late 80s. I came home, but while I was in prison, I started to understand, and I found the religion of Islam. I accepted Islam, Orthodox Islam, and I took my Shahada, and I started to view life through the Quran and through the life of the Prophet Muhammad, and how that whole movement or that whole ideology or that whole way of life influenced the world, and I was with it. And from that, it taught me to recognize that if I did good in God's eyes, I was the number one person in the world. And nothing that never told me that. And so in this, and if you you're into scripture, in the Quran, I think it's chapter 49, verse 14, 15. It talks about that if the righteous is verbatim. I mean, not verbatim, but basically the righteous ones that are in God's eyes are number one in His eyes. Basically, that's what it says. That's the gist of it. And that was powerful. And from that, I just took it on, took Shahada, and then I started realizing that I had talent. My talent was I could read and write. And I started reading and writing for other inmates, and then the next thing you know, I had a store inside the prison.
Oh, wow.
And I started doing 2-for-1s, basically. When you come in and you need this, that, and the third, you would see me and you might spend $15, but you would have to give me like maybe 25, 30 back. And before you know it, I was running the prison where I was at. And it was just, by the grace of God, I was conducting business. And when I came home, I was like, wow. I mean, I got so adapt to running businesses, and now I was getting respect that I realized that I didn't have to pop game or anything or steal. I could just have a product and that I could sell. And then once I started getting into the clothing business, like I said, late 80s, early 90s, I went to a friend of mine, Ellis Echeverria, and I had this idea, because it started coming to me that, damn, all I had to do all this time was do the right thing, and I could come off like this. I had a car, I was saving money, I was traveling, boom, boom, boom. And I was working, and I was getting respect, and I wasn't stealing, I wasn't doing nothing bad, and it was beautiful. And I was like, wow, this is like heaven or hell. Then I ran into a friend of mine, his name is Kay, his brother is Raekwon, and they were in the process of dropping the Incarcerated Scarface's album. And I hung out with them a few times, got a clip of that Heaven or Hell cut, and that just kind of put the stamp on it.
'Cause that was the synchronicity right there.
Yeah, that was just like my anthem right there. And then, we got along, we started vibing, and then next thing you know, I went to this guy, Elvis Echeverria. He's a very talented artist. He's the ultimate artist. That's all I can tell you. Anybody from Hartford would know Ellis Echeverria. He's from Hartford. They grew up in Sands Project.
Oh, wow.
And I told him what I was thinking about. Man, I started to realize consequence meant if I did wrong, I would be in hell, and if I did good, I would be in heaven. Wow, that's the same thing as religion, but it's not religion. I can relate to people, and it was boom. So I said, Ellis, draw me a logo. And the logo that you had on the card, that you got on the card, he gave me 3 different ones. He gave me 3 different ones, and I picked this one. I paid him, so we were done. I think around coincidentally, the African American Black Expo was at the Civic Center back then. That must have been early 2003, 2004. It was a while ago. And long story short, I did a booth. I had some stuff printed. I did a booth, and we blew out of the sales. The same, like the day, that was on a Saturday here in Hartford downtown. But that Friday, I had got a letter from Kay and them that they liked it and they wanted me to come to Staten Island.
Fine. So now you just said a good bit, and I wanted to segue right back into the Raekwon and Incarcerated Scarface, because what I noticed was it was a lot of 5%ers wearing the garb. So how did that kick off? What can I say? Did that kick off a good look up and down the East Coast?
Well,
a good stamp.
I think I'm not affiliated with the 5%ers. That's something that they have in I want to say off 125th Street in Harlem.
Yeah.
That's a ideology that they promote, or however they do it. I don't knock nobody for how they worship, but it wasn't. I didn't come with it. I came with it from the point that I came with it.
Right.
I started realizing that consequence had a reality. And for me, as a young black man, and it might take some black men a long time to realize it, what go around, come around. And it took me till I was almost 30, 35 to realize that that's really true.
Right.
I mean, you can say it all day, but to put it in your mind and live it out your heart, that's the difference between men and who get in trouble and who don't. Is who's able to just deal with their particular situations and predicaments. So I mean, I started to realize that there's a consequence for everything. I mean, and what you do come back. So, but it's just like we clicked off, we hooked up because back then I had a green Land Cruiser, so he came out in the car after we hooked up a couple of times. Who was the kid in the green Land? So we started running around and everything.
Oh, the kid in the green Land.
Yeah, I was that person.
Okay.
And next thing you know, the record went national.
Boom.
And then they started wearing it. I mean, it's just been pictures of everybody everywhere.
Yeah.
Then they called me to come up to do the ice cream video, where it was shot at Queens Coliseum. Then they did Incarcerated Scarfaces, which was shot on the Robert Wagner projects in the Bronx. It was a housing project on the rooftop. So I started getting, hanging out and going to different roof parties. I mean, then it took off. And then next thing you know, like I said, I bumped into the people from North Carolina. They offered me a marketing or licensing deal. So I took those designs that I had, and I had got some more designs. And next thing you know, I was in Magic right next to Damon John, Keith, and Kyle, and Jay Alexander, the FUBU guys. And they kind of took me under their wing. And I was doing trade shows, and this stuff started selling all over the country, man. And it was just been like, boom. Like I said, but that all ended 2004. So from 4 to probably 2021 now. Probably about 2018, I was just kind of just chilling.
Right. Because I seen on the Instagram, like, you just popped back out, and I'm like, oh.
I never really went nowhere. I stopped the production.
Right.
Because, I mean, overseas is overseas. And if you ain't overseas, you don't know what's being done. So I'd rather, as opposed to going that whole gamut, jumping all the way back in, I can get my feet wet this way, little way, and keep it here. I can do the production that I can afford to do here. And I can just serve customers that want to be dealt with without having to worry about quantity, shipments from overseas. I mean, I'm done with. I mean, I would love for the message to be an international distributed product. However, there's a cost for that. So that consequence I don't want to pay.
Right.
Because I'm happy with this. So this is my happiness. This is my heaven. And so this is what I do.
Boom.